Hi, my name is Monique Musial, and I'm the author of An Understanding Beyond. And today I'm going to be covering that God knows our needs and desires. Although the book I wrote didn't bring me riches, God rewarded me in many other ways. All the money in the world can't begin to match my blessings throughout the years. It has happened to me countless times that God gave me what I wished for. There are also small favors that some would dismiss as pure chance, but I see them clearly, especially when I wished something only to myself, but suddenly it's right there before me. Other times, it's like someone read my mind and promptly gave me what I hoped for. Sometimes it took a very long time for the more major things, but they eventually happened after patiently leaving it up to God and letting go the worry and anxiety about these things. Please consider that divine help is more likely to come to those of us that are dear to God because we care and are true to Him. Calling on Him only when we need Him while ignoring Him the rest of the time may not work so well. How would you feel if people that want nothing to do with you suddenly approach you for help? If you're busy helping those that are dear to you, would you leave them to go to the aid of others that you mean nothing to? With that in mind, please be clear that I'm not boasting, but I am simply submitting these examples to show that God actually does bless His beloved people. It's the witnessing of these real experiences. I always wanted my kids to see Disney World, but never had the money. My sister-in-law's employer gave her a bonus for a vacation for 4 people, so she and her mom, who is the grandma of my kids also, took them to Disney World. I had already been there in my youth, so it was okay if I didn't go there, but my wish for them had come true. I had fallen in love with a Pontiac minivan at the auto show. But with all the expenses of our house, we couldn't afford any car payments of any kind. After waiting for 8 years, I finally got my chance. We refinanced our house because interest rates had dropped significantly, such that our house payments stayed the same, and so did the amount of years left on the mortgage. So it changed nothing as far as that payment we had to make. There would have been no other way that we could have, paid an extra couple $100 or $200 or $300 a month. It would have been impossible. It was that close, everything. When we did this refinancing, it gave us enough cash out to buy an almost new Pontiac Transport, replacing an old station wagon that I had been driving that had 200,000 miles on it, over 200,000 miles on it, and it was not even safe to drive anymore. When I eventually needed my next car, now in my mid-40s and 10 years later, I was told about a Chevy Cavalier someone we knew was selling. I had just enough money at the time and got a great deal. After I already had the car for a while, I realized that back when I was about 27 and interest rates were super low, I had set my eyes on a Chevy Cavalier then. But that never happened then. It's like everybody else in the art department where I worked all bought new cars, except for me. So the extra money just wasn't available. I hadn't realized that this was another fulfilled wish from the past until I already had the car for a while. I go, well, wait a minute, what do you know? Cavalier, isn't that what I wanted years ago? body style is completely different, so it looks like a different car anyway, but it's actually the one that I got later in life. It's actually nicer looking than the boxy ones back then. So sometimes we just need to be a little bit patient about these things becoming possible. When I found myself alone after 20 years of marriage, I needed a cheap place to live. I was just working a survival job at the time. After looking at a number of apartments, I applied for one I really liked. I looked at the sky as I left there and said, God, I really want to live here. And he granted that for me because a few months later, I got a letter in the mail that they had an apartment for me, and it was affordable for me, this place, and actually a really nice place. I lived in that apartment for only a year, and one day on a Sunday, I'm driving past a church I sometimes attended. I attended different churches. I always attended church on Sundays, but I attended different churches, not always the same one. And I drove past one that there's a sign up on the church that says, Habitat of Humanity is going to be here on Sunday. Come and apply, to get a house. And I remember I had plans that day, other plans that day, and they fell through. And it wasn't until after the plans fell through that I go, oh my gosh, that seminar's today. And I haven't ever seen signs like that up anywhere, just at one time. So after I lived in that apartment for only a year, I ended up applying at that seminar, applying for a house, and Habitat of Humanity helped me get a house. Another blessing when my income was nowhere near what buying a house required. I'm still living there now, 13 years later, and can still make ends meet in my retirement. All the way back when I was in college, we have a lot of ideals. I said that someday I want a macaw parrot. But I never had the money. There were other things, like needing a car or, whatever other expenses that I had to pay for other things. So one day I get a phone call from my aunt. This is when I was already settled into my house here, and I got this phone call. She said that her neighbor had a macaw that they wanted to find a new home for. The bird had been a problem as it didn't like the woman that owned the house. I kind of saw later on that she had been kind of cruel to the bird, and birds are smart. They're gonna know, and they remember that stuff. So they gave me this incredible bird because when I saw that she actually got it to get excited and act up and everything, and probably thought I was going to say, no, I don't want to deal with it. But I said, she says, what do you think? I says, I think I should take him home and see what I can do with him. So they gave me this incredible bird that was extremely intelligent and beautiful. I tell people stories about the conversations that you could actually have with this bird. It was incredible. And by the way, this bird was very angry when we first got him. Used to swear and all kinds of stuff. And we poured love on him, and he ended up being a really nice, loving bird. And he, after just a couple of weeks, stopped swearing, and he stopped being so angry. He was now in a nice, safe place in my home, because I love birds, so I treated him well. So these are just some things that it's just like, they just kind of fell on me. There's many, many small little instances. I want to let you know, you got to be patient. If we're not getting answers, it either isn't the right time or what we're asking for is not the best thing for us. In His wisdom, God knows the consequences the future will bring and may be protecting us from something. For example, riches and fame. You would think that's the end all for everything, right? That you have everything then. Will they bring arrogance and greed or other financial complications? Will these factors tear families apart when those people don't get what they expect from you? There's will the phone never stop ringing? Will going in public become impossible? In a case of like being a famous person, you can't even go out. You have to hide everything. All that kind of thing doesn't necessarily bring happiness. I think having good relationships and having a good life and being a good person, trying to be a good person anyway, after all, Christians are not perfect people, they're just forgiven people, but so we don't know what we see as ideal, how it's going to turn out. It would be good for us to realize that God's priorities are not the same as ours. They are eternal and not based on our physical existence with material things. I wanted to state that, I don't know how I forgot to mention this so far, but, oh, okay. Actually, I did cover that. Okay, then we can conclude by saying, God, His focus is on eternal things, and His priority is that our souls are saved, so that we can be with Him. He knows that if all else fails, even our health, anything that can cut us down, we will come to His wonderful realm someday to reside in perfection. In that place, possessions won't be necessary because we'll have all we need. Something to definitely look forward to someday, not to dread. Thank you. My name again is Monique Musial. My book is An Understanding Beyond. It's available on Amazon for everyone in the world to read if they want to. Okay, thank you very much.